I've talked about my students are poor listeners, so I use strategies to help them listen. But look at this. They're poor readers. They're poor readers. So I have to give them structures that engage them in the thinking that a good reader does and teaches them how to assess their reading while they're reading. So I do. I have structures. Call them reading groups. ABC, you're a reading team. ABC, you're another reading team. Remember your letter. Your letter A, your letter B, your letter C. I get them into groups. Then I take what it is that I would like them to read well. Could be the textbook, could be a story, could be anything you want. I read a little bit, usually a paragraph, slowly. I read and think aloud. Read, think aloud. Read, think aloud. And while I'm reading, I'm questioning the text. I'm asking questions and I'm answering the questions. Basically, I'm doing two things. What do I understand and why? What don't I understand and why? And then I say, okay, I modeled a little bit of how I read. Now, A, take over, read the next paragraph to B and C slowly. Remember, read a little, think a little, read a little, think a little, read, talk, read, talk, read, talk. What do you understand? What don't you understand? Why do you understand this? Why don't you understand that? Generate questions as you read. Try to answer the questions as you read further. But always keep those questions coming. Okay, A reads a little bit, then B and C add what they thought. Then B takes over. B reads a little bit. And A and C give feedback. Then I read what A and B read, and I do it again. Then on to C, and C reads a paragraph. Then I drop out, and I say A reads the next paragraph, B reads the next paragraph, C reads the next paragraph, read, think, read, speak, give feedback. Now, while they're doing that, what am I doing? Wandering through class, listening. And in one day, identify all the problem readers and all the students who are good readers. I don't have to give them a reading exam. This will tell me how well they read, and it tells me very quickly. So I'm gathering information. I'm assessing whenever I'm wandering through. And very often when I'm wandering through, I just seem to be standing there near their group, you know, sort of like this, because I'm not going to come to a group and stare at it, because that's going to affect how they respond. So I just sort of wander around as if aimless, but I'm listening very carefully and accumulating information. So this is what I do for everything. My students are poor writers. I've talked about what I do about that. They're poor writers, poor oral communicators. They do not use language with care and precision. So therefore, I have structures for calling attention to what it is to use language with care and precision. I teach them how to use the dictionary. Most students don't know how to use the dictionary. They're college students. They don't know how to look up a word. They don't know how to identify which of the meanings. They think you take the first meaning. They don't know how to use the etymology of the word. They're just unskilled in the use of the dictionary. And you can't be a good thinker and not achieve command of language. You can't achieve command of language if you cannot use the dictionary effectively. So it comes down, and you could give them exercises using the dictionary. I used to require all students to bring a dictionary to class. So you analyze your students. You figure out what their strengths are. You figure out what their weaknesses. You design structures. You have an organizing idea. You continually have them engage in an activity and then assess the activity they're engaging in, and you're continually holding them responsible and modeling what you want. When you use these kinds of strategies, you start building up, you know, groups and groups of structures, and you start choosing between them like a toolbox filled with tools. I could use this structure, that structure, this structure, that structure. You find some structures work so well that you keep them, and other structures don't. I want to give you just two structures quickly to conclude. And these, I think, are very important structures. One I use is the oral test to ensure that students learn the basic vocabulary. Give them a list of 15 terms. I model explaining the terms, state the term, elaborate the term, illustrate the term, exemplify the term. Then I put them into groups, and each student must take turns. You get the first turn. idea, you get the second, you get the third. State the term, elaborate the term, illustrate the term, exemplify the term. By the way, you can't use my language. Can't use my illustrations. You can't memorize my words. Now, while they're practicing this, then I go around, I pick 2 students who are doing well. I don't mention this, that I'm picking 2 students who are doing well. I say, class, I'm going to start the oral exam. Eleanor and Bob, I'm going to test you first. You come out. The rest of you keep practicing. I give the test to Eleanor and Bob. Eleanor and Bob, lo and behold, pass. I knew they would. I was listening. And then I say, Eleanor and Bob have passed. They can now certify others of you. And I give them the certification sheets. On the other hand, as soon as you're ready to certify them, Eleanor or Bob, they have to come to me to be spot checked. And if they don't pass my spot check, you're decertified, and you go back and you have to take the test again. So don't certify anyone unless you're pretty confident that they understand these terms. So I do that. Now everyone you certify becomes a certifier. Now I'm directing traffic. Some students are practicing. Some saying, okay, you're finished, you're certified. Okay, I would like you to test. Sharon over there. Okay, Sharon, Bob's finished. He's going to be certifying you. You need to be spot checked. Okay, I'll do that. That's what I'm doing, directing traffic. I only give the first 2 tests. I don't give any. Within 3 days, the whole class of 32 has gone through the oral exam, and they share a common vocabulary. They assess each other. They teach each other. I make sure they do it. I'm the assessment coach. Works extremely well, and the students say, this is the most effective structure that I use on their assessments, the oral exam. Final one, assessment for a grade. I require a 20 to 30 page argument for your grade, in which 20-page minimum, 30-page maximum. You tell me what grade you deserve, and you document it. I want to hear 4 strengths that you've developed over the semester, 4 weaknesses you still have. Each must be documented. And then on the basis of that, look at the profile for an A, profile for the B, profile for the C, and so forth, and tell me which you come closest to. Now, this is worth 20% of your grade. And there are 2 criteria, accuracy and detail. So now let's suppose you're working at the C level. And you document very well and accurately that you're working on the C level. Then you get an A on your self-evaluation. 20% A, 80% C, you're going to go up, probably a B minus. You're going to raise your grade by your self-assessment. But let's suppose you're operating on the C level and you argue for a B. You're going to get a D. Do not argue for a grade you don't deserve, because it's going to lower your grade. Argue for the grade you do deserve, it's going to raise your grade. So this logic is both diabolical and extremely effective. I do not have students who argue for A's, typically. Most of my students argue for C or D's, and most of them raise their grade by doing so, because most of them are operating at that level, given my profiles. So I have high standards, and I have no objections to my grades. How are you going to object to a grade you argued for? I've got a 20-page document signed by you saying you deserve a D. So the student is caught between pincers. There's no way out. The only way out is to be accurate, and then you can raise your grade. So by using structures like this, I design my class so it's extremely difficult to go through without working regularly and hard and developing your skills, but I have very little work to do in the class. I don't carry papers home until the end of the semester, nor do I give any grade until the end of the semester. And when I do grades, I put no commentary on the papers, because most students don't pick up their papers. And I'm not going to write for some mysterious person who's not going to look at it, but they can turn their portfolio back to me after they've received their grade and meet with me if they want. Almost no one does. So the end result is I don't suffer, and the students learn. Perfect combination. You can do it. Anyone can do it. It's a direction, and it's effective. Students teaching students. Students assessing students. Students learning organizing ideas. Students disciplining their thinking. students getting a picture of what it is to develop your mind. It's possible. We can do it. You can do it.